My name is Paul Barrow. Welcome back into TechPath. This is going to be interesting because we'll break down what's happening with Merit Circle and Beam. And we thought, hey, what's the best way to do that is to get one of the team from Merit Circle and have them come on the show. So I want to, of course, welcome in Stephen Bryson-Haynes, who is the head of investment and partnerships over at Merit Circle. Great to have you, Stephen.
Thanks, Paul. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit of today's topic. A lot of times when we get a chance to learn a little about what Merit Circle and Beam, really, I think the relationship, a lot of people don't necessarily completely understand that. So can you explain the difference between Merit Circle and Beam, the platform?
Starting off with Merit Circle being the DAO, originally started in 2021. It's the largest gaming DAO out there. We recently put out our treasury report for the end of 2023. Treasury is at 118 million.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much the sort of head company where the token holders are, where they get to participate. And Beam is the product. You know, a lot of DAOs we're looking at, especially gaming DAOs, where do they go from this Axie Infinity scholarship model?
Right.
We've moved away from that. We've found a product market fit of Beam. Beam is very much where the players and developers come to interact. It's a tech layer as well as an ecosystem layer. Originally, we've started that and still are, and very happy with our subnet on Avalanche. Yet looking at and recently had a partnership and excited about our partnership with Immutable as well, moving over or growing to the adoption of their ZK EVM chain as well as our own subnet.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to kind of dive into that. Right now, how many games are currently building on Beam?
Yeah, so on the subnet, we've got over 30 that are either signed with us or testing our technology at the moment. That's 30 that we're already working closely with.
Right.
We're also creating some of our own. Two of our own games at the moment we're in a close partnership with, which is Forgotten Playlands and Castle Blackwater. So those ones are going live this year as well. And now as well, you know, moving some of our technology or bridging it over to the Immutable side, that also opens up more than 200 games to start partnering and working with as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So roadmap-wise, this partnership could really extend your library out in terms of growth. How long do you think that would take? Is that a 12-month roadmap, or is it something you see having much quicker impact on Beam?
Yeah. So Beam's been the subnet's been live now for about 3 months. These 30 games on there. All have different timelines to horizon of first play testing and then becoming live.
Right.
We've already got around 4 or 5 games live at the moment, and then we should have 7 to 8 live in Q1, and they will be rolling out more over time. You know, a lot of these games are partnerships, so we don't necessarily determine when they go live is. Plus, you know, some games have a 3 to 6 month dev cycle and others are building for 2 years. So throughout this year, we expect 40 to 50 games coming on the subnet, but then also working with other ecosystems and partnerships like Immutable ZK EVM.
So why select Avalanche as kind of the primary, platform to build on? What was the core behind that?
Avalanche was, when we chose, it was a chain that was already provable. There was others using it. They had a very supportive team, both on business development and on tech support. They helped us with a lot of that initial integration. And we've been really happy with that. The tech works. It was proven. It was the only one out there at the time where we knew we could pick up a subnet and start rolling with it straight away. So that's been a great partnership. We will still work very closely with Avalanche, and I'd consider us one of their main onboarding avenues for a game developer if you're wanting to build in that ecosystem.
What about in terms of transactions? I was looking at the Beam subnet here. Obviously, prior to December, not a lot of transactions, and we have seen quite a bit of a lift, in December. What's the likelihood of really an increased transaction, throughput here within Beam as you start to onboard more games? What does that look like on the roadmap, say, going out through 2024?
Yeah, very much. It's all to do with the games that we onboard. We're a complete gaming chain, so that all depends on how closely we work with these games. We can support them through marketing and growth, and ultimately the quality of the game and how many players they can adopt. We're working with some games like Trial Extreme, for instance. In their Web 2 style game, they've had over 100 million downloads. Now we're seeing this in a Web 3 setting and supporting them there. It really comes down to that growth and adoption of each individual game. We should have over 30 games by the end of the year on the subnet. And then ease of use. This is the first time we've seen in the gaming ecosystem where a player can just come in, download a game, play a game. They don't have to worry about gas, creating a wallet, signing transactions, security. All of these have been removed with our tech stack. A player just comes in, plays the game. They don't even need to know it's on Web3.
Yeah, which is good. I think we've seen more and more projects kind of go that direction, which is the more hands-off, a little bit more subtle approach. Explain the collaboration between Immutable and Polygon. Kind of talk to us about how this deal was put together, some of the emphasis behind it, what you're looking to achieve out of it.
Yes, we want to be where the gamers are. It's very much a thing of we respect each other's tech ecosystem. Both Immutable and Polygon already have great tech. A lot of game developers, gamers are there. We're originally or starting with our Sphere marketplace on the ZK EVM chain. And then we can look at bringing on other parts of our technology there if developers require that. But at the moment, we're a featured marketplace for Immutable. We've already started talking to a lot of the games there. They're looking for that type of assistance. So it was an obvious move for us to always be in the gaming action. And obviously, Polygon and Immutable have a lot of games there as well.
What is the percentage of games that would be in Immutable within the Beam ecosystem? What does that look like?
Well, we're going to be working on their ZK EVM chain, which should be going live the end of January. So it's still up to each individual game on how they want to list their assets on what marketplace. But also with their shared order book, it makes liquidity very interesting on that ZK EVM chain, as you can have shared liquidity across all marketplaces.
Right.
So it's a pretty different way of looking at it.
So what you're saying is that the games themselves kind of dictate as to where this might end up, whether it's an IMX or maybe living over on the Avalanche ecosystem. Is that the primary model right now, or are you looking at, what about the existing games that are in there?
Yeah, the existing games on the Avalanche subnet, we're still completely dedicated to Avalanche subnet. We think it's a great opportunity. It's a full out-of-the-box SDK solution for a developer. Yeah, we don't have to dictate where these developers want to go. Some want to build on Avalanche. We provide an excellent opportunity for them there. We can do, gas offset grants and things like that to support them. Other teams want to build on the Polygon tech stack or use the Immutable infrastructure, and we're really happy for those games to use that too. We think that's also great tech. So again, it makes it easy for us to just help developers and be agnostic to where they want to be, and we can support them where they want to go.
From the game dev side, are you finding that game devs are leaning toward one or the other as a potential success, or is it more in line with maybe what they're developing? How does a game dev make a decision if they're the ones that are choosing, hey, I want to be on a subnet or I want to be within the IMX ecosystem?
I think there's pros and cons on both sides. We try and explain that to each developer. A lot have already made a decision. Many Polygon games are already on Polygon, and they want to do a simple bridge over to the ZK EVM chain. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for a developer. We don't want to have to make them all move or do harder bridging solutions or things like that. So we lay it out to them. We're more than happy for them to build on either, and we can go to support them.
I was looking at this right here. This is the Star Atlas living in the Beam Hub. Is this something that you think is this something in terms of a potential for Solana games to be within Beam in the future?
What we do at the Beam Hub is it's very much the whole Web3 gaming ecosystem. We want to support everywhere. We think running and providing the best content for all games, whether they're on Beam, whether they're on Solana or anywhere, we want to be very useful and provide the best content that we can for the whole ecosystem. So this is where the Beam Hub comes in. We run events on there, we do questing on there, and we provide content on there for all gamers to come and find games and figure out what they want to play next.
So no likelihood of seeing Solana maybe coming into the potential.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, we're really happy with our chain partnerships so far.
Okay,
but I've always said we want to be where the gamers are, and we want to be available to where the gamers are. Yeah.
That's a good dodge of an answer there. I like that one.
Thanks.
Let's go into token migration and whether, well, I guess, and also when would we see the full merge with Beam as a token? What's the timeline for that?
Yeah, already I think 90% of the Merit Circle holders have already transferred over their token to Beam. So Beam is the prevailing token now. We have a 1 year period to transfer all your tokens over from Merit Circle to Beam. So that's the end of this year.
Yeah. When you look at game success, so we've seen a handful of recent games start to roll out in the mobile ecosystem, as well as some of the cross-platform, like Xbox. The one I'm thinking of is Palworld, which has really kind of skyrocketed. Very small studio. It reminds me a lot of a Web3 developer, in terms of how to build a game, get it rolling out quickly, kind of fail fast kind of thing. But this one has really kind of exploded just in a very short period of time. What's the likelihood of maybe seeing something like this within the Beam ecosystem? What's the probability there?
I think, there's still quite a big gap between all traditional developers and publishers wanting to move into Web3. Right. The uncertainty perhaps around legalities and things like that. And also the adoption, there's definitely been love and hate of traditional gamers around Web3. I think a lot of that comes down to how they've had an experience so far in Web3 hasn't been easy and natural to a gamer. When they have to either spend a lot of money to play a game, have price discrepancies going very volatile up and down, it makes it quite tricky. So I think we need to smooth out the experience for developers and gamers to make it very simple for them to understand how to interact and what the benefits are to them before we're going to get these top games moving into the space. I think we're much more likely to develop them internally within Web3 already and have some very big successes, and then that's going to entice others to move in.
With that being said, Stephen, do you think that there is a possibility of seeing a Web3 game get a full launch on something like an Xbox? I mean, we know mobile is going to continue to be probably one of the home bases for Web3 gaming, but what about getting a release on an Xbox or a PS5, like a console, truly getting a Web3 out there? What's the likelihood?
Yeah, I think it's pretty high. I think Sony's been looking at it and mentioning that, they're becoming more open to those areas. I would think this year what would probably happen is you'll have some games publish on on Xbox, for instance. But there'll probably be a Web 2.5 approach. It'll be very minimum Web 3 to begin with. And then it will grow from there. I don't think anyone's going to launch their fully on-chain game straight to an Xbox.
I think traditional, I won't, kind of bridge the gap between gaming and what maybe the evolution of AR, VR will be. But if you look at some of the recent moves by Meta, this was a tweet out there, just kind of a sneak peek of their augments on the MetaQuest 3. And what I mean by this is something that's been built in, and they've been talking about this for quite a while, the augments, which is basically think of it as a collectible, which easily could transition into NFTs. And if you remember, Meta was one of the companies that kind of stepped away from NFTs, but recently there's been a little bit of regulatory push. And I just wonder if Meta is holding their cards to their vest on possibly launching something in the NFTs. And if that were the case, if Meta were to come out with an NFT integration into the MetaQuest 3 and within that ecosystem, how big of a deal would that be for Web3 gaming as a whole?
It would be massive. We need more and more large household names to sort of understand and prove that Web3 can be mainstream adoption. It's more likely that they'll do something very small to begin with, and they're not going to probably lead the way. I think they'll wait for mid-level sized companies or to get mass adoption internally within Web3 first before they want to go after it.
Well, excellent. As far as roadmap for you guys have done a lot in a very short period of time. Obviously the rollout, you've got a lot happening here within the Avalanche ecosystem, a lot happening over on the IMX deal. You look at 2024, what can we expect from you guys?
Yeah, 2023 was very much around proving our product market fit. We've obviously seen developers like what we're doing, gamers like it, and investors have liked it too with our token price. So this year is around how we can now further support that growth, and that comes through with our partners, both developers as well as Immutable and Avalanche. So this year will be definitely getting those games live, supporting them through all areas of tech, marketing, player acquisition, as well as just general Web3 growth. And then expanding we should have 50 games this year on the Beam subnet, and then also working with a very large amount of games in the Immutable ZK chain as well. Yeah.
You get a chance to talk to a lot of devs. What has been, because this is a thing that, I look at, for a game dev, they have a choice right now to make. It used to be, it was a one-way highway on,
right.
Vision 2.0, you're working with either a big gaming house or you're trying to launch a little, culture studio. But now you've got Web3 coming in. Are you finding talent starting to move into Web3 more and more? You're getting a chance to talk to a lot of these devs. What do you think?
Yeah, a lot of them are very much focused around money flows still. I think a lot of developers have thought that the Web3 space is interesting and they're wanting to get involved, but VC investments in the space really sort of move that. And still there hasn't been a very successful Web3 game yet to be able to prove that adoption. So I think it's really going to need to, this year we should be able to prove out games actually getting substantial user bases, making real revenue. And that's where should open up the doors for many more developers to come in once it's proven.
Well, you guys heard it there first. 2024 is going to be the year for Web3 gaming. I like it. Steve and Bryson-Haynes coming in to us from Merit Circle. So, Steve, thanks so much for stepping in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
You bet. All right, so you guys are maybe tuned in on the podcast side of things. Make sure and jump over to the YouTube channel, get the full experience of not only the graphics, but a lot of the dive-ins that we do here on the video version of the podcast. So it's very easy to do. Also, you get a chance to join our Diamond Circle, which is our private member group where we drop additional podcasts, more research, all sorts of stuff in the Web3 space, but also blockchain, obviously, within the main tokens, all that kind of stuff you can find within our Diamond Circle. Click that link down below. Catch me on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.